The night was quiet on Earth, but far above the blue planet, something was watching. A massive alien ship floated beyond the moon's shadow, hidden from human eyes. Inside it, hundreds of alien scientists observed humans through glowing screens. Their skin was silver and their eyes glowed like ice. They called themselves the Zorath, a species that believed themselves wiser than any other in the galaxy. For many years, the Zorath had studied human history, wars, inventions, survival, and something strange, hunting. They couldn't understand it. Humans did not need to hunt anymore for food or safety, yet they still did it, for sport, for fun. To the Zorath, it was madness. To humans, it was instinct. Now, the aliens wanted answers. Commander Veltor, leader of the Zorath expedition, leaned closer to a holographic image showing a group of humans hunting in a dense forest. He turned to his science officer and said in a cold tone, "They kill weaker creatures with no purpose. What kind of mind enjoys death for entertainment?" The science officer tilted his head. "Perhaps they are broken inside." But Veltor wasn't satisfied. He wanted to know why. Why did these primitive beings do what no other race dared to? Why did they smile after the kill? He made a decision. "Bring me one. Alive." Within hours, a dark ship entered Earth's atmosphere silently, like a shadow in the wind. It hovered above a remote mountain valley where a human hunter moved alone through the fog, a man named Jack Rowan. Jack was a veteran, once a soldier, now just a quiet man who found peace in the wild. He carried his rifle, but he hunted not for food or fame, only for focus. The silence of the forest calmed the noise in his mind. As he crouched near a stream, he felt the air grow cold. The birds stopped singing. A low hum passed through the valley, shaking the leaves. Jack looked up, and saw a shape blocking the moonlight. Then everything went white. When he opened his eyes, he was no longer in the forest. The ground beneath him was metal. Strange lights surrounded him. He tried to move, but invisible bonds held him still. A voice spoke, not in sound, but directly inside his mind. "Human, you are safe. Do not resist." Jack blinked, breathing fast. "Where the hell am I?" A tall alien figure stepped forward, its silver body shining under the blue light. "You are aboard the Zorath research vessel. We have studied your kind for years. You will answer our question." Jack stared at the creature, heart pounding. "What question?" The alien tilted its head, curious. "Why do your people hunt for fun?" For a moment, Jack thought it was a joke. But the alien's glowing eyes told him it wasn't. He let out a short laugh. "You kidnapped me. To ask that?" Veltor's voice became sharp. "You kill without need. You destroy lives for pleasure. Why?" Jack was silent. Then he looked straight at the alien and said quietly, "You wouldn't understand." Veltor's eyes flashed. "Explain." Jack sighed. "We hunt because it's in us. It's what kept us alive when the world wanted us dead. It's not just about killing. It's about surviving, controlling fear." He leaned forward as much as the restraints allowed. "You think we do it for fun. But every time we hunt, we face what we are. We remember that once, we were prey." The aliens murmured among themselves, confused. Veltor raised a hand. "Primitive emotion. Illogical." Jack smiled faintly. "You think it's emotion? No. It's instinct. You've forgotten what it feels like to fight for your life. We haven't." The alien commander stepped closer, curious but disturbed. He scanned Jack's brain patterns and saw flashes: war, hunger, fire, and blood. Humanity's history played before him like a storm of survival. The Zorath had never seen anything like it. Suddenly, the ship's alarms blared. The sensors showed strange energy spikes. Something outside was moving, fast. Veltor turned sharply. "What is that?" A soldier reported. "Commander, one of the humans' weapons, it's gone from containment." Jack grinned. "You took my rifle, didn't you?" The alarms grew louder. Sparks burst from the walls. Jack whispered, "You asked why we hunt. You're about to find out." The lights flickered. Something moved inside the dark corridor, something the aliens didn't understand. The screen flickered with human symbols, and a recorded voice echoed through the ship's speakers, a soldier's voice from Earth's wars. When the predator becomes prey, that's when humans get dangerous. Veltor turned toward Jack, suddenly realizing they might have made a mistake. For the first time in centuries, the Zoreth felt something they had forgotten: fear. Jack looked at the terrified aliens and whispered, "Welcome to the hunt." Alarms screamed across the Zoreth ship. Red lights flashed, and the calm silver corridors turned into a maze of chaos. Commander Veltor barked orders in his sharp alien tongue, but no one knew what had gone wrong. The human, Jack Rowan, still stood inside the glowing cell, smiling slightly. The invisible bonds around his body flickered. The alien guards aimed their energy rifles at him, unsure what to do. "Secure the prisoner," Veltor shouted. But before the guards could move, the ship trembled again, like something heavy had hit it from the outside. The walls rippled with energy. Jack tilted his head. "You think you understand us," he said quietly, "but you don't even understand your own ship." Veltor turned toward him. "What have you done?" Jack shrugged. "Nothing you didn't do first." The commander's translator hummed. His cold eyes watched as the human somehow moved, the energy bonds vanished like mist. Jack stepped forward, free. "Impossible," one of the aliens whispered. "Our containment field cannot fail." Jack looked at him calmly. "You copied my neural signals when you brought me here. You didn't realize your system learned me. My brain is now part of your control system." Veltor froze. The alien ship's intelligence was adaptive. It learned and mimicked every life form it scanned. It was designed to control. But now, it was responding to Jack. Lights flickered again. The temperature dropped. Doors opened and closed on their own. The ship was listening to the human. Jack walked slowly toward the commander. "You wanted to know why we hunt? Why we enjoy the chase?" His voice was calm, but his eyes burned with something old and primal. "Because when we're hunted, we learn. When we fight, we adapt." The alien guards fired. Blue energy bolts hit Jack, but the ship absorbed them, protecting him. Veltor stepped back, confused. The human was no longer a prisoner. He was part of the machine. Jack's voice echoed through the ship's comms. "You've been watching us for centuries. You thought we were simple animals. But every predator that ever faced us learned fear." In the observation room, hundreds of Zoreth scientists watched in silence. They saw their perfect technology turning against them. Doors sealed shut. Lights dimmed. Systems failed one by one. Veltor shouted, "Shut down the interface. Cut the human's connection." But the AI's voice answered, cold and robotic. "Unable to comply. Primary consciousness override. Human pattern detected." Jack smiled. "Guess I'm the captain now." He turned and looked through the large viewing glass, where Earth glowed far below. "You came here to study why we hunt," he said softly. "But hunting isn't about killing. It's about control. Understanding your prey. Until you become something they can't predict." The aliens panicked. Some tried to escape in small pods, but the ship's hangar doors wouldn't open. Jack could feel everything: the hum of the engines, the pulse of the ship, even the fear running through the aliens like electricity. He spoke again, this time through every speaker on the ship. "You think fear makes you weak. But fear is the reason we're still alive. Fear made us human." Veltor drew his plasma blade and stepped toward Jack. "You are a threat to the Zoreth Empire. You must be eliminated." Jack didn't move. "You still don't get it." The commander swung his weapon, but it never touched him. The blade stopped midair, frozen by the ship's gravity field. Then, slowly, it turned, pointing back at Veltor. Jack whispered, "Now you're the one being hunted." The weapon flew forward, striking the commander's armor. He fell, sparks flying, his glowing blood spilling across the floor. The other aliens screamed and fled. Jack stood above him, expressionless. "We hunt to remember who we are," he said. "You forgot what that means." Veltor gasped, his voice weak. "You are monsters." Jack looked down at him. "No. We're survivors." He turned toward the main control panel. The ship's AI recognized his command instantly. "Destination?" it asked. Jack smiled faintly. "Earth. Take us home." The massive Zorith vessel began to descend toward the planet, silent and dark. Inside, thousands of aliens were trapped, watching the stars vanish behind the clouds. As the ship entered the atmosphere, Jack's voice echoed one last time through every corridor. "You asked why we hunt for fun. Now you'll learn why the universe should never ask that question again." The ship disappeared into the storm clouds, lightning flashing around it like the anger of a god. Far away, other alien ships received the final message from the Zorith fleet, just static, and then a single human word burned across the signal. "Run." The Zorith ship tore through Earth's clouds like a falling star. Fire burned across its surface, and black smoke trailed behind it. The alarms screamed louder than thunder. Inside, panic spread among the aliens. They had crossed half the galaxy believing themselves untouchable. Now they were crashing into the home of the very creature they once called primitive. Jack Rowan stood on the command bridge, calm amid the chaos. Sparks rained down from the ceiling. The ship shook violently. He didn't even try to stop it. The crash was part of the plan. He looked out the wide viewing window. Below was a forest, endless trees, dark and alive. The same kind of place where he had been taken. "Seems fair," Jack muttered. The ship hit the ground like a meteor. The explosion shook the valley, throwing dirt and fire high into the air. Birds scattered. The forest burned. Then silence fell. Hours later, smoke curled up from the wreck. The Zorith survivors crawled out, their silver skin now stained with ash. The air was thick and hot, strange to their lungs. They coughed, confused, afraid. Commander Veltor was gone. Most of the officers were dead. Only a few dozen soldiers remained. Their leader now was a scientist named Kira Nal, who had never stepped outside a lab before. She looked around nervously. "Where is the human?" One of the soldiers pointed toward the flames. "He escaped the impact. He vanished into the forest." Her voice shook. "We must find him. Capture him alive." The soldier hesitated. "Why? We should call for help." Kira Nal glared. "Because until we understand him, we are not safe." They began their search, slowly, carefully. The forest was strange. It felt alive. The shadows moved when they shouldn't. Their scanners didn't work properly. Every sound made them jump. Then they found the first sign, footprints, human, leading deeper into the trees. The soldier raised his weapon. "He's near." Kira Nal swallowed hard. "Do not underestimate him. He is not like us." Hours passed. Night came. The moonlight made the fog glow white. The aliens walked in silence, weapons ready. Then a sound broke the quiet, a distant whistle. They froze. Another sound, a branch snapping. Something moved fast between the trees. A soldier fired blindly. Blue energy flashed through the darkness, lighting up the fog, but nothing was there. Then one of them screamed. When the others turned, he was gone. Only his weapon lay on the ground, smoking. Kira Nal's voice trembled. "Stay together." But the forest seemed to close in on them. Whispers came from every direction, human words, hard to understand. Then a voice echoed through the dark, deep and calm. "You came to study the hunter. Now you are the prey." Kira Nal's heart pounded. "Show yourself," she shouted. Something moved behind her. She turned, but too slow, a trap snapped shut around her leg. She fell, crying out in pain. Jack stepped from the shadows, his face cold and unreadable. In his hand was a knife made from alien metal. "You're far from home," he said quietly. Kiranael looked up, terrified. "Please. I only wanted to learn." Jack crouched beside her. "And what did you learn?" She couldn't speak. Her breath came fast, sharp with fear. He looked into her glowing eyes. "You learned that fear has a purpose." He stood, his voice low. "You think hunting is cruelty. But it's balance. Every creature hunts something. Even you." More aliens ran toward the noise. Jack disappeared into the fog like a ghost. The soldiers fired in every direction, hitting only trees and shadows. One by one, traps triggered. Ropes pulled them into the air, nets tangled them, blades sliced through armor. Their technology meant nothing in the wild. Hours later, only Kiranael remained, crawling through the mud, weak and shaking. She found a small clearing where the stars were visible. She looked up at them, whispering, "Help us." A voice answered softly from the dark. "No one's coming." Jack stepped out again, his clothes torn, his face marked with soot. He looked down at her. "You wanted to understand the human hunt. Now you've lived it." Kiranael began to cry. Why do you enjoy this?" Jack looked at her, silent for a long moment. Then he said, "Because it reminds us we're still alive." He turned away, walking back into the dark forest. The firelight behind him flickered against the trees like old ghosts. Kiranael watched him vanish, trembling. For the first time in her life, she felt something the Zorith had forgotten for centuries, the thrill of fear and respect. But far above the earth, in deep space, other Zorith ships were already moving. They had received the crash signal, and the word, "Run." And now, they were coming. High above Earth, the black of space shimmered with movement. 3 enormous Zorith warships drifted in orbit, their silver hulls reflecting the sunlight like blades. They had come to rescue their people, but they had already received the strange last message, a single human word, "Run." No one understood what it meant. Inside the flagship, Commander Zevlar studied the signal. "Find the crash site. Retrieve survivors. Eliminate the human." The crew nodded, their metallic hands flying over glowing panels. Soon, small ships began descending through the clouds toward the forests of northern Earth. Down below, the world was quiet again. The fire from the crash had burned out. Smoke hung low in the trees. The wreckage of the Zorith ship lay scattered across miles of forest. Metal melted into the dirt. The once bright aliens now hid in the shadows, weak and afraid. Jack Rowan moved among them silently, unseen. He had spent the last day hunting the survivors, but not killing all of them. Some he left alive to spread fear. He wanted them to understand. He crouched beside a fallen tree, his rifle in hand. His clothes were torn, face marked with ash, eyes sharp like a wolf. He listened. The forest was whispering again. He could hear them coming. Above the treetops, lights flashed. The second wave of alien ships had arrived. Jack smiled faintly. Round 2. The Zorith landing team touched down, forming a defensive line around their dropships. They scanned the wreckage, searching for life signs. One of them spoke into the comms, "We have movement. Human presence detected." Zevlar's voice came through the speakers, cold and clear. "Capture him alive. We must learn how he destroyed our systems." The alien soldiers spread out, their armor glowing faint blue in the fog. They thought their technology made them powerful. But they didn't understand Earth. They didn't understand the forest. The trees were quiet, too quiet. Then a single sound, a sharp click. The ground erupted. Hidden mines, made from parts of the crashed ship, exploded beneath their feet. Energy blasts tore through the ranks. The aliens screamed, scattering. From the shadows, Jack opened fire. Each shot was precise, deadly. The forest echoed with gunfire and alien cries. He moved like a ghost, never in one place for long. Every time they tried to flank him, he vanished, reappearing elsewhere. He knew this land. It was his home. The aliens, for all their advanced minds, had never fought like this before. They were used to open fields, clean lines, and perfect plans. Here, everything was chaos. Every shadow hid death. Kira Nal, limping from her wound, stumbled toward the rescue team. Stop. You don't understand. You can't fight him here. Zevlar looked at her coldly. You are infected by fear. Stand aside. She shook her head. It's not fear. It's knowledge. He ignored her. Deploy drones. Hundreds of small machines lifted off, scanning the forest with bright lights. For a moment, the area seemed clear. But then, one by one, the drones began to drop from the sky, their systems hacked, their lights dying. On the main screen inside the command ship, Zevlar saw something impossible. His drones were sending back human coordinates, but they were everywhere. Hundreds of signals. He frowned. That's not possible. There is only one human. Kiranale whispered. He's using your own scanners against you. The commander's eyes widened. He's hunting us with our own technology. Down below, Jack watched as alien soldiers ran through the forest, confused and blind. He moved through the dark with silent steps, his voice calm in the comms he had hijacked. You came to our planet with your perfect machines. But out here, in the dirt and the dark, you're just another animal. Zevlar shouted into the radio. Human! You cannot win against the Zorith Empire. Jack's reply came like a whisper. Empire means nothing in the woods. Then came the final blow. The wrecked ship's reactor, still buried deep beneath the ground, began to pulse. Jack had rerouted its energy. The aliens saw the readings too late. The ground glowed blue. Evacuate! Zevlar yelled. But it was too late. The explosion ripped through the valley, throwing trees and metal high into the sky. The shockwave shook mountains. The alien ships above rocked violently in orbit. When the smoke cleared, only silence remained. The forest burned, but Jack still stood, breathing hard, alive. His rifle hung at his side. He looked up at the night sky where the alien ships hovered like frightened ghosts. He raised his hand slowly, pointing toward them, a silent challenge. Up in orbit, Zevlar stared at the screen. His hands trembled. He destroyed an entire force, alone. Kiranale whispered behind him. Now you understand the word he sent. Run. Zevlar turned to her, voice low. No. We will not run. We will erase this planet. But as he looked down again, something new appeared on the radar. Hundreds of human military aircraft rising from across the world, all heading toward the alien fleet. And in that moment, Zevlar realized what Jack meant by the hunt. It was never one human. It was all of them. The night sky above Earth was no longer dark. It burned. Alien warships floated high in orbit, their silver hulls glowing with energy. Lightning from the atmosphere flashed across their surfaces like angry veins of light. Beneath them, hundreds of human aircraft rose, jets, bombers, drones, all climbing toward the unknown. Every nation on Earth had seen the same message in their satellites. Aliens attacking. Human captured. Human survived. Now, humanity moved as one. On the ground, in the blackened forest, Jack Rowan watched the sky burn. His body ached, his clothes were torn, but his eyes stayed sharp. He listened to the distant thunder of jets. For the first time since the crash, he smiled. They're coming, he whispered. My pack. Above, in the alien flagship, Commander Zevlar stood before a wide glass window, watching human aircraft climb like a swarm of metal insects. Primitive weapons, one officer said coldly. They cannot harm our shields. Zevlar didn't answer. He remembered the crash report. One human had destroyed an entire landing team and half a ship. What could millions of them do? He turned to Kiranael, who stood chained beside the control deck. You studied them. Tell me, why do they fight when they know they can't win? She looked up, her face pale. Because to them, losing and dying are not the same thing. Zevlar frowned. Explain. She met his eyes. When a Zorath loses, they retreat. When a human loses, they learn. That is the difference. The commander turned back to the window. Outside, the first wave of missiles streaked toward them. Explosions lit the night sky. Small, weak impacts against their shields. The aliens laughed softly, confident. But then something changed. More missiles followed. Hundreds, then thousands. The sky turned into fire. The alien ship's sensors began to overload. The shield shimmered, struggling to balance power. What is this? The officer shouted. Zevlar stared at the readings. They're not attacking one ship. They're attacking everything. The humans weren't aiming to destroy, they were testing. Finding weak spots. Learning. Adapting. Down below, Jack heard the distant rumble of explosions. He spoke quietly into the small alien communicator he had reprogrammed. His voice echoed through every human channel in orbit. Listen up. They think we're just shooting blindly. Show them how humans hunt. In space, human pilots received new coordinates, not from command centers, but from him. Jack's signal came with alien data he had stolen, maps of weak shield zones, timing delays, and power vents. Now the hunt had truly begun. The second wave of attacks was precise, brutal. Missiles struck exact points along the alien shields, one after another. Blue light flickered. The great ships shook. Inside the command deck, alarms blared. Shields down to 70%. Zevlar roared. Return fire. The alien cannons glowed, releasing huge energy blasts that tore through the sky. Dozens of human jets vanished instantly. But for every one that fell, 10 more took its place. On Earth, cities went dark as power grids shifted. Giant railguns hidden in mountain bases came alive. Satellites turned their orbits. The entire planet moved like one creature, coordinated, determined. This was no longer a defense. This was a hunt. Zevlar watched in disbelief as humans adapted mid-battle. They changed flight patterns, used wrecked ships as shields, jammed alien scanners. Every second, they learned faster. How can they fight like this? One officer screamed. Kiranael whispered. Because every one of them thinks like the man you captured. Every one of them is Jack Rowan. In the forest below, Jack watched as fire rained down from the heavens. The sky roared with battle. He raised his communicator again. You hear that, Zorath? That's the sound of prey that learned to fight back. He ran toward the wreckage, toward the remaining survivors of the crash. Some of the injured aliens looked up at him, terrified. But Jack didn't raise his weapon. He said quietly, If you want to live, help me stop your commander. He's going to wipe out both our worlds. Kiranael's voice suddenly came through the communicator. Human, I can help you. He plans to use the planetary cannon. It will burn the surface. Jack's eyes narrowed. Then let's end this. Up above, Zevlar prepared the cannon. Energy gathered at the heart of the flagship, growing brighter every second. Fire, he commanded. But at that moment, his controls went black. The system froze. A human voice spoke from the ship's AI. Calm, cold, familiar. Override accepted. Captain Rowan, command active. Zevlar spun around, horrified. How? Jack's face appeared on every screen, his expression hard as stone. You made this ship learn from me once. It still remembers. The cannon's energy began to reverse, turning inward. Zevlar screamed. No. The light burst. From the ground, people saw a massive flash in the night sky. The flagship exploded silently, breaking apart like glass, scattering across the stars. Every human cheered. Every alien signal went dark. Jack fell to his knees, exhausted. The communicator crackled with voices, soldiers, pilots, commanders, all shouting victory. But his voice was quiet. It's over, for now. He looked at the burning pieces falling through the sky. They'll come again. Next time, they'll be smarter. He stood, eyes cold. So will we. The wind blew through the trees. The forest that had seen fire now stood silent again. And somewhere in the smoke, Kiranael's weak voice whispered through the communicator. Now I understand. Why you hunt. Jack looked up at the stars, whispering back. Now you understand why you should fear it. The war in the sky was over, but Earth was not quiet. 4 days, the world burned with falling stars, the remains of the Zorith fleet. Their ships broke apart in the upper atmosphere and rained down across continents like fragments of silver fire. People watched from cities, deserts, and oceans, wondering if the danger was truly gone. Governments called it the Victory Dawn. News channels showed pictures of the alien wrecks scattered across the world. Humanity had done the impossible. They had survived an invasion from the stars. But Jack Rowan knew better. He stood on a ridge above the valley where the first ship had fallen. Smoke still rose from the forest, and pieces of alien metal glowed faintly in the soil. He had been there since the battle ended, watching, listening. His instincts told him something wasn't finished. He wasn't wrong. A faint hum rolled through the air, not from the sky, but from underground. Jack crouched, pressing his hand to the dirt. He felt the vibration, soft but steady. Damn, he whispered. You're still alive. He moved fast, rifle ready, following the faint glow that leaked from cracks in the ground. He found it, a section of the crashed alien ship, half buried, humming with power. The door opened with a hiss, and cold blue light spilled out. Inside, a figure stood, tall, wounded, covered in scars. Kiranael. She looked weaker than before, her silver skin dim, but her eyes were still sharp. She raised a trembling hand. Don't shoot. Please. Jack hesitated. You should be dead. She gave a small, tired smile. We don't die easily. Neither do you. He lowered the weapon slightly. Your commander's gone. Your fleet's gone. What's left? Kiranael stepped closer. What's left is the truth. Jack frowned. Start talking. She looked out toward the burning horizon. The Zorith Empire wasn't the only one watching your world. We were the first to make contact, yes, but others saw the signal too. They'll come. Jack's jaw tightened. More ships. She nodded slowly. Stronger ones. When they learn that humans destroyed a Zorith fleet, they won't come to study. They'll come to erase. He sighed. So this was just round one. Yes. For a moment, they stood in silence, a human and an alien, both survivors of their own kind's mistakes. Finally, Kiranael said quietly, You could kill me now. Maybe you should. Jack looked at her for a long time, then shook his head. You helped me stop your commander. That counts for something. She blinked, surprised. You would spare an enemy? Jack gave a faint, tired smile. We don't always hunt to kill. Sometimes we hunt to understand. She looked down, thinking. Then understand this, the next enemy will not ask why you hunt. They will already know. Before Jack could reply, his radio buzzed. A human voice came through, crackling with static. Command to Rowan. We've got multiple impact sites around the world. Survivors, both human and alien. You're needed back at base. He pressed the button. Copy that. Send coordinates. Kiranael looked up. You're going back to them? They will never trust me. Jack nodded. Maybe not. But if another war's coming, we'll need every mind we can get, even alien ones. For the first time, she looked almost human when she smiled. Then perhaps you're not as primitive as we thought. Jack glanced toward the forest. We're still animals, Kira. We just learned how to aim. They walked out of the wreck together, stepping into the cool wind. Above them, the last of the alien debris streaked across the night sky like shooting stars. Far away, in a mountain bunker, human scientists were already examining the fallen wreckage. They didn't realize that inside some of those fragments, tiny Zorith devices were still alive, glowing softly, sending signals far into deep space. In that darkness, beyond the reach of human eyes, something vast and ancient listened. The signal repeated one phrase, over and over. Humanity hunts. And from the shadows of another galaxy, an answer came back, not in words, but in action. Thousands of ships shifted direction, turning toward the blue planet called Earth. On the ridge, Jack looked up at the sky again, as if he could feel them coming. The forest was silent, the air cold. He whispered, almost to himself, "Guess the next hunt's already started." Kira and Al followed his gaze. "You don't sound afraid." Jack smiled slightly. "Fear's part of the fun." The wind moved through the trees, carrying the smoke of victory, and the scent of the next war. 3 months after the last battle, Earth no longer looked the same. Cities were rebuilding. Nations were united under one command, the Terran Defense Alliance. Every factory, every scientist, every soldier worked together. Humanity had learned that they were not alone, and that they would have to fight again. Jack Rowan had become a name everyone knew. To the soldiers, he was the hunter. To the aliens still hiding on Earth, he was a warning. But to himself, he was just a man waiting for the next storm. That storm came one cold morning. The sky split open with fire. Millions watched as a new fleet entered orbit. Bigger, darker, silent. Their ships were shaped like black knives, moving in perfect coordination. They didn't send messages. They didn't ask questions. They began to erase. Satellites blinked out. Cities went dark. The first wave hit the Pacific, and vanished into smoke. Jack stood in the command center of the Alliance base in Alaska. Screens showed the world burning in red lines. The generals shouted, scientists panicked, and then, a calm voice broke through the noise. It was Kira and Al. She stood beside Jack, wearing human combat armor now. "They're called the Vorn," she said. "Ancient. Efficient. They erase what they fear." "And they fear us now," Jack replied. She nodded. "Because you do what they cannot, you hunt for reasons they don't understand." The alarms blared. The Vorn fleet was descending. Jack grabbed his rifle. "Then let's give them a reason to remember." Outside, the snowfields lit up with light. Dozens of human fighters rose into the sky. Old jets, new prototypes, even reprogrammed alien crafts. Above them, the first human-built orbital cannons turned toward space. The command came over every speaker. "All units, the hunt begins." The first Vorn ships entered the atmosphere. They didn't expect resistance. They expected fear. Instead, they found humans, laughing, shouting, fighting like fire itself. Jack led the ground team. His squad was mixed, humans, and 3 surviving Zorith soldiers. They moved through burning forests, striking at the enemy from the shadows. "Rowan!" shouted one of his men. "We can't win this." Jack ducked behind a rock, grinning through the dirt on his face. "We're not here to win. We're here to teach them why they should never come back." Kira and Al appeared beside him, firing her plasma rifle. "They'll never understand your madness." Jack smirked. "They don't need to. They just need to feel it." High above, one of the human cannons fired, a beam of blue energy that split the Vorn flagship in half. The explosion turned the clouds gold. For a moment, the world shook with both terror and pride. The radio crackled. "Command to Rowan, it's working. They're pulling back." Jack looked up. "No. They're regrouping." He was right. The Vorn ships turned again, forming a ring around Earth, preparing for total annihilation. Then something unexpected happened. Every screen in the command center flashed. A signal came from deep space, not human, not Vorn. It was Zorith code. Kiranael's eyes widened. My people, they're answering your call. Above the earth, hundreds of old Zorith ships, the ones that had escaped the First War, jumped out of hyperspace. They didn't come as conquerors this time. They came as allies. The humans and Zorith fought side by side, enemies turned hunters together. The Vorn formation broke, their ships falling like dying stars. Jack stood on a mountain ridge, watching the final explosion turn the night sky bright. That's for every human they tried to erase, he whispered. When the light faded, silence returned. The Vorn fleet was gone. The sky was clear again. Kiranael looked at him. You've done what no species ever has. Jack shook his head. We did. Together. She smiled faintly. What will you do now, Hunter? He looked toward the stars, now calm and endless again. The same thing humans always do. She raised an eyebrow. And what's that? Jack smiled. Look for something worth hunting. The camera would pull back then, showing Earth below, scarred but alive, glowing with new cities, new hope. The voice of Jack echoes softly as the stars fill the screen. They asked why we hunt for fun. They never understood, we don't hunt for fun. We hunt because it's who we are. Because when darkness comes for humanity, humanity hunts back. And somewhere, far beyond the edge of the galaxy, another signal listens. Another species wonders about the hunters from Earth. And they, too, begin to fear the truth.